Hello and welcome. My name is Ian. Today we're talking about third lining it, which is essentially the not self, which is what not to do through the lens of the human design system. And so we're just going to dive right on in. So basically we're looking at a body graph chart right over here. This is a 9-centered human body graph chart. It's like the chakras from classical yoga. Instead of 7 that are in a vertical line, there's 9 chakras now. And there's a little bit more expansion along the horizontal plane, if you will. And so here we know that we're looking at a 4-6 emotional generator with split definition. That tells you an awful lot about this person immediately if you know what you're talking about. And so we'll begin with the profile. This is a 4th line conscious profile. You can see the 4 right here. And so that essentially means that this person has a conscious personality that is constantly seeking opportunistic influence throughout their network of friends, family, or colleagues. And so there you get a taste. You get a taste of this personality. This person needs to have influence opportunistically throughout their network. And what is the motivating drive behind that on the unconscious side? There's a 6-line unconscious design. And so if you know anything about the 6th line or the 6 lines in general, something about this specific 6th line is that it sees through what's called the whole circuit. And so that there's a lot of nuance to what that means. Essentially it means is that they have farsight as part of their nature. They have a form of farsight that they're working with. And this person's farsight is in the unconscious. So it's their body that is able to do things and to perform behavior in a way that is either hypocritical, which is going to be our focus today, or it's the role model. And the role model is what I prefer to talk about. However, this is third lining it, where we need to get into the practical of what not to do so that you can see for yourself what's going on here. And so with this 6th line in the unconscious, there is a deep potential for mutation. There is a change that is coming through this person in their unconscious design. In the cells of their body, there is a change that is coming through. And it takes 30 years for that change to begin to actually attune to the world around it, the first 30 years of life. And then there's 20 years after that, which is called being aloof on the roof, wherein this 6th line has access to more deeply objective perspectives, and they can be aloof and take a step back from the world and from people, places, and things, and not take things personally, and take a step back and discover an objectivity about the attunement they made in those first 30 years. And all of life beyond that, beyond 50 years of age for the 6th line, is essentially the test, the genetic test of, are you a role model? Can you succeed? Did you discover a unique truth that you can now live by and demonstrate as a role model for people to see and to emulate, to learn from as a role model? Or are you hypocritical? Were you only able to go so far as do as I say and not as I do? Which is very dangerous, to say the least. And so from those 2 pieces of information which make up the profile, we have the 4-6, the 4-6 profile. And what I'm pointing to here is essentially the sun and the earth of the personality, and the sun and the earth of the design. This is something that we can all kind of see and operate with and recognize is these profiles. This is a great way to start becoming aware of how these things operate, because these 4-6s, they can be a very powerful voyeur that are looking around, seeing all these incredible things and tasting all these incredible things, experiencing all kinds of different things, and not really being so deeply personally involved, having this unconscious detachment that guides their opportunistic influence throughout their network. And so because we're third lining it today, we're talking about the not self. This is right here and right here. These two energy centers, these two chakras become very important elements in understanding what the not self is interested in. With an undefined ego center, this is the willpower center, the heart chakra. And this is an undefined will center with 3 gates activated in it. So the 51 right here, the 40 here, and the 21 here. These gates allow this person to experience shock in life, to deny the problem of that shock by taking control of the situation and biting through for success, for pushing through a thing. And so those elements are part of their design. However, because none of that is part of a fixed definition or a channel, like this 21 does not have the 45 on the other side. This 51 does not have the 25 on the other side. This 40 does not have a 37 on the other side. That makes this center undefined. And that means for the not self of this person, the most important thing is proving their worthiness to other people and receiving validation from other people. Essentially, the theme of this is value. And so this person has an undefined value center in that sense. So they don't have a consistent relationship with how to define or establish value. And so when other people provide that information, when other people say, hey, you did a really good job, thank you for your work, that feels really good for them. And it's like, oh, that's what I'm here for, is when they say I did good. That's what I'm here for. And that's because of this undefined ego center. It's because of this willpower center. That's at least one of the consequences of an undefined ego. On the other side, they have an undefined splenic center. And this means they're going to hold on to things that are bad for them. Their immune system, the spleen, doesn't have a consistent expression. The 44, the fear of extinction, we're all gonna die. And the 32, the fear that there's no ripe, powerful ambition that can actually rise up and do the work. And so this fear that we're going to die, and this fear that we can't transform into something greater, these are driving this immune system into amplifying health situations. Could be health issues. So for this person with an undefined spleen, it is generally recommended to avoid conventional Western medicine whenever possible. And I mean pharmaceutical pills, hard drugs in that sense. I'm not trying to override any doctors. I'm simply saying that for the undefined spleen, the Western pharmaceuticals are a lot to handle. And it's not easy on them. It provides a lot of work for that system. And so they need to be able to relax the system and bring peace, and not simply peace, but the nutrients that that organ needs to function properly. And the thing is they're going to hold on to things that aren't good for them because they're busy proving their worth to other people and receiving the validation from other people. So those form these two fundamental poles that the basic not self is working with. I need to prove my worth to other people, and I need to hold on to things that are bad for me because at least they're consistent. And the true remedy for that, this is what I wanted to mention, is that the true remedy for this is a practice with experimenting homeopathic medicine. For the undefined spleen, they're very powerful at amplifying any kind of energy that has to do with survival, survival instincts, and even basic play. So watch out to what you really hold on to in life. Watch out for what sticks around you and what you keep around you intentionally. Whether it's a behavior, a person, or a place, or a thing, whatever it happens to be. And so in the not self, those are the fundamental themes. We have holding on to things that are bad for us, and the thing is we need to receive validation from other people, and that's what we hold on to. We receive the validation from other people, and all of a sudden the fear that we can't transform, or the fear that we're all going to die, can be ameliorated because at least there are other people with me that are telling me that I'm doing a good job. then that's the only way that I can actually know I've done a good job, is because other people have told me. And that's this undefined ego right here, is that it needs that validation from other people. And so you might have heard me say triple split earlier. These definition structures right here, there's a 360 and a 1949 defining the sacral to the root to the solar plexus. And then there's also a definition here, this 1333, defining the G center with the throat center. And then there's also this 4764 connecting the head with the ajna. And you'll notice that right here the 43 is missing, and right here the 23 is missing. Ooh, right here the 12, right here the 35. So these are specific gate themes that are very important to this person. This 43 is the gate of insight. They don't have the insight. They have the 23. What the 23 can do is it can break down the vibration of the insight and turn it into words by breaking it down into pieces and then restructuring those pieces into words. However, they don't have the insight, and so for them it could be very important to have the insight, because if they have the insight, now all of a sudden people will tell them they've done a good job. Over here in the 35, this is a gate of fullness. This is a gate of I've had enough and it's time to move on. It's time to go to the next thing. They have the 36 on the other hand. So they have what's called the gate of crisis. And now the thing about crisis through human design is that crisis is actually what happens when a lack of experience is seeking experience. So when you go into something you've never done before and you go right through into it, you penetrate into this new experience, like planting a seed in the ground and you've never gardened before. You don't know what's going to happen, and you might freak out because, oh, well, it's not growing fast enough. What do I got to do? What do I need to do? What do I need to do? And that's what happens when you're listening to the mind and when the mind's telling you what to do. And so this person doesn't have access to knowing when enough is enough in the sense of this 35. This 35 knows when they have had enough and it's time to move on to a different thing. And so when they're able to move on, and somebody else notices they've moved on at the right time, or at a good time, it seemed like it was good, all of a sudden they receive this validation and boom, they feel connected. This 12 is about caution. This is about pause. They have the 22, which is the gate of grace. It said that these can be very, very deep listeners. And then the 12 on the other side is the grace. It's the pause that turns the grace into a life force energy and a channel that has a specific design. However, that design is not here. The pause is not present. So if other people give them validation that, hey, that was a really good job you did at flinching there. It's actually your hesitation was beneficial. And they don't have access to that consistently. So if they receive that validation, it's like, oh, that was a really good moment. That really was nice. I like that. And I need more of that. And yet it's not consistent. So it won't always be there. One more here is the 37. They have the 40, which is a gate of denial. This is a gate of work. This is a gate of liberation, ultimately. The denial of problems through the work that it takes to, deal with the problem. And what they don't have is the 37 on the other half. And the 37 is the family. This is the gate of the mother and the father. And so this is that friendly, emotional massage that's willing to go like, hey, if you do this for me, then I'll definitely let you do that. Or in what other frame, any other frame that a bargain might form. For you see, when the 37 can formulate a bargain that the 40 can't deny, all of a sudden it has to do the work, because that's the liberation. And they don't have the 37, so they might not be the friendliest person, They might not have the most deep family values. at least not consciously. Over here in the 25 is, if I can speak mystically, it's like the blood of the universe. Every single piece of inanimate matter in the world, like my cell phone right here, has countless gate 25 either activations or inactivations. It has that gate in its structure of what it is as an item that we can interact with. For you see this G center right here represents, well, the function of what's called the magnetic monopole, which holds us together in our illusion of separation and moves us along our line of geometry. It basically gives us direction in life. And this 25 is that direction, or that material, that raw material that is life itself, that is all the various forces that make up life and also inanimate matter. So they have the 51. The 51 is, well, it's competitive. It's a gate of shock, of dealing with shock. How does the willpower handle, oh my God, that just happened. What do I do about it? Well, I jump into the void. You know, I'm not afraid. I'm going into it. This is what I have to do. Because it's jumping into the material of the 25, the very blood of the universe itself. And wow. So when they receive validation for their competitive success, wow, this person is probably incredibly competitive. Incredibly competitive. It's probably the most important thing in the whole wide world. Because you see, the thing is, they have this 1949. And that's a tribal wave of how to deal with the needs of life. How do we distribute the food and the resources and the water? Am I going to receive food, resources, water? And there's a handling of this whole system. And so I brought up the triple split earlier. Essentially, the key for this person is to allow themselves to be around varying groups of people, because they're a triple split. And so having different ways to bridge this split instead of relying on those specific gates that really connect it and, oh wow, I need to fix this thing that can't be fixed. If they're around other people with different channels, then their things are naturally connected up and there's energy flowing and they feel good. And so there's this recommendation of not getting too caught up in specific other people, but rather groups of people, especially as a fourth line personality. This person needs to work through their network. And that means feeding the network as a whole. Not any specific person, it's feeding your networks as a whole. Because there's something that will bear fruit in the network somewhere. And so by spreading your energy positively through the network, things will blossom. However, that's not what's happening here. This person is a generator after all. And in the not self, when they're seeking validation from other people and holding on to things that are bad for them along the way of finding this validation through competition, they're frustrated as hell. It's so frustrating in here because this 360 is a mutation. And so it's either happening or it's not. Either they are on fire and there is life flowing through them and there is a brand new moment unfolding, or it's another day, and it's another day, and it's another day, and it's another day, and nothing's happening, nothing's happening, nothing's happening. And so they keep finding more validation through competition, and it doesn't ever work. It doesn't find them their satisfaction, because they aren't waiting to respond. You know, they're initiating competitive situations, and they're going out of their way to be competitive. Gosh. And it's going to hurt themselves because their heart can't handle it. This ego center, this heart center isn't fixed. It doesn't have a consistent energy exchange that gives it stability. They could easily have a heart attack if they're pushing themselves too strong to be competitive. And up in here, you see this defined ajna channel right here with the 47 in it. This 4764 is very busy. It's always trying to make more sense of the past. How can I make more sense of the past so that I can finally let go of old experiences and move on? And so they need to keep finding more and more sense out of the past, and that's really going to strain their heart, which can't handle it. And if they're really pushing themselves physically, you know, getting that exercise so that they can be healthy, so that they think they can be healthy, they're going to push their heart so much harder until boom, if they can't keep their competitive nature under wraps. If they need to hold on to their competitive nature in that way, oh my, it's game over, you know? And all they really need to do is wait to respond. You don't have to initiate anything in life. You're a generator after all. About 70% of humans alive today are generators. It's a generalization, and it's very profound. It means that we wait to respond, you know? You are part of life. You are part of this life force energy. And if you can trust your gut response, and as emotional inner authority, if you can wait for clarity, unlike this competitive person who's holding on to this competition because they have to take control right now, if you can wait for clarity, then you'll find this gut response flourishes through your natural raw power. This 34 right here in conscious and unconscious activation in the red and the black. The red and the black, the design and the personality. This 34 is raw power. This is raw power for almost anything other than sex, basically. It's like, I'm gonna do anything else first. Like, we got stuff to do, we gotta live, like there's life here. We have to do things or we're gonna die. And this 34 has that raw energy. So if they're waiting to respond, that raw energy is gonna unfold in their network in the most profound role modeling situations that make a difference in people's lives they don't even know about. And if they're initiating from their mind, like, oh, this is what made sense before, it has to be what's true now because I need this validation. Oh my God, well, they're probably not gonna live very long past 60 or 70. That's my guess. And so that's about all I have at the moment for this. I hope you enjoyed this journey into the not self of what not to do. And if you'd like to learn more, feel free to reach out. At any rate, I hope you're having a wonderful day. Bye for now, and take care.